All right. Are you ready?
I guess so. Ready as ever.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, Terry, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Bunker Hill, Illinois, a very small town. I graduated with 36 kids in my class. So very small. Farms, cornfields, like what you see on the movies. And after that, I graduated, and now I'm from St. Louis. So
You live in St. Louis now?
That's right. Yep.
And tell me about your childhood. You had mom and dad?
I did, but not so much of both. So my mom and dad had me when they were young. My mom was 19. My dad was 20. I think they met like partying or whatever, because my dad lived in Missouri, my mom in Illinois. So they got pregnant with me, got married. My mom was probably like 9 months pregnant when she got married. And then they lived in my paternal grandparents' basement for a couple years till I was 2, and then they got divorced. That's when sort of the separation happened, where my dad stayed in Missouri and then I went to live with my mom. But my dad had paternal custody, but I wouldn't see him ever. I would stay with his mom and dad, my paternal grandparents. So though I had a mom and dad, I didn't really, because I was like bouncing around from place to place, either between my maternal grandparents, aunts and uncles, or my dad's side of the family. Then, comes all the craziness, the bad memories, which I can go into detail about. But fast forward, asking if I have had parents, yes, I lost my mom, but I don't really have my dad in my life now either. So it's not really felt like I've had parents ever, a mom and dad. So it's... You're
raised more by your...
Grandparents, yes. And I don't want to sell the other people short that had an impact in my life, like my uncle, my mom's side, my aunt, cousins. So, when a lot of folks ask, like, how did you end up being how you are now? Though I didn't have that mom and dad figure, I had all kinds of people around me that still loved me and would help guide me in the right direction.
So you avoided a lot of the childhood trauma that a lot of the people I interview have been through?
No, that's the part. So I'll open that up. So when my mom and dad separated, again, I was about 2, my mom had custody of me. And there was so much bouncing around from like apartment to apartment, family members, friends. This was probably the worst part in my life, from 2 to when she was killed when I was 8. And still to this day, I have issues with like staying in new places that I'm not familiar with. Riding in cars, I have a really hard time letting other people drive, because she would, take me to bars, be drunk driving all the time. We would have to stay in like random friends and dudes' houses because she was either getting drugs or whatever, walking in on her getting raped. That was awful. But, eventually she ended up meeting my sister's dad, who I consider like a real dad, like my stepdad. There was some happy time there, and then they split. So my sister went to live with her dad, and then I stayed with my mom. And that time was awful too, because I felt like I had to protect her. Like I had to keep her safe. And so anytime she would go out, I would go with her, because I thought for some reason I could keep her from having bad things happen to her, which is ridiculous as a child. And I do remember a couple of times too, my uncle coming and picking me up at different bars and stuff in different houses, waiting out. I remember this terrible memory of sitting outside in a car by myself in the dark while she was going to do whatever it was that she was doing. That was weird to me, because now thinking as a mom, I would never let my children sit in a car by themselves. It was just wild. But you know, when you have addictions, you're not in the right state of mind. So clearly.
Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp. I work every day. I don't take sick days. Some days everything falls into place, and other days it just doesn't. We've all been there. Life has its ups and downs, and that's just how it goes. When things feel heavy, having the right support makes all the difference. A therapist can help untangle external pressures from internal thoughts, turning stress into personal strength. Therapy is a great tool for learning how to process emotions, build healthy boundaries, and develop ways to cope with social anxieties and everyday pressures. It can also help you set goals that truly fit your life. Getting started is simple. You fill out a short questionnaire online, and BetterHelp will match you with one of more than 30,000 licensed therapists with diverse specialties and backgrounds. If the match isn't right, it's no problem. You can switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. And the best part, you don't have to wait for the right time. Any day can be the start of something better. So if you're feeling stuck, click on the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/softwhite underbelly to get 10% off your first month of therapy. Because taking care of yourself isn't about waiting for perfect. It's about showing up for yourself every day. Thank you for watching. And now back to the video.
Good decisions weren't happening. So eventually, years go by. I survived. She survived. And she ends up getting with another guy. They were together for a little bit in an apartment. I would see my sister on and off. And I very, very vividly remember my little sister was there with us that weekend. She's 4 years younger than I am. She and I are really close. And my mom went to leave, and I remember thinking, I can't leave my sister here by herself. I have to protect her this time. So that night, my mom left, and then that was the night she got killed. So she never came back.
How did she get killed?
So she was out with a dude, a guy, and they were drinking, doing drugs. I don't know what kind of drugs, but they went to pull over and have sex, and she got out of the car to use the restroom to relieve herself, and he backed over her. Now, there's sort of a conspiracy where it was on purpose, but he did not spend that much time in jail, which was devastating to my family and I, because it was, I think they called it like involuntary manslaughter, to where it was an accident, but he ran her over and just left her there. Like, he didn't, I would think that if someone did something on accident, then they would like try to help you or call for help, but he just left her there. So I remember when my uncle, days had passed, and it was weird. I was sort of relieved, which is terrible to think of, but to be honest, I was like sort of relieved that I didn't have to take care of her anymore. And I thought, well, if she's gone, then I can go live with people who I can just be a kid around. And so days passed. They never found her. She never came back. And I also have a really vivid memory being in a tree, climbing trees with one of my friends, and my uncle said, "Does your mom have any tattoos?" And I'll never forget that. And looking back now, I think they were trying to identify her body. So I did let him know that she had a couple tattoos, and I let him know. And then like that next night was when they broke the news to me that she had been killed and she wasn't coming back. Of course, I'm sobbing because I'm 8, but again, I felt that relief that I didn't have to keep her safe anymore.
You were protecting her more than she was protecting you.
Yeah, I think so. And I do have a few good memories. A lot of people, like my sister, she and I talk a lot about how it's really sad that she doesn't have any memories really of our mom, but I always also say like there wasn't really a lot of good ones to have, so I'd rather her not have any than have those. And she was only 27. So when I had my 27th birthday and I outlived her, like she was 26, 27, That was crazy to me. She was so young. I had my first child when I was 27. So, there's certainly some grief around it, and that's sad that a mother died. But on the flip side, I don't know that she was happy. Like, she's just living a sad life. So that's my mom's story.
Do you know what her childhood was like?
Yeah, she had a pretty normal. I know I watch all your videos and see people talk about normal. She had a pretty normal childhood. I know that she and my grandma, they didn't get along so well. My grandma.
But there was nothing terrible in her childhood.
No. My grandpa was awesome, and I will say that my grandma and my grandpa got divorced, so she did get raised in a single mom household with 2 younger brothers. But I mean, like, there wasn't anything traumatic that I'm aware of. I think my uncles would have told me by now.
Right. And my next question would be, is there any history of addiction in your family?
Not really. I would say not on my mom's side, no. Not at all. But on my dad's side, certainly alcohol. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened. That's kind of the mystery of it all too, is like what went wrong for her. And I don't know if it's because she was just young and just fell into a bad crowd, not having a stable relationship with her parents. I don't know. That part's still a mystery. We'll never know.
And how did your life proceed after that?
Well, my sister, of course, went to her dad full time. I went, and I remember being in the courtroom, which also, anyone listening, is very traumatic to put a child in a courtroom in front of people and ask them to choose who they want to live with. I would strongly recommend against it. Like, have that conversation privately with a social worker. But anyway, yeah, it was a weird time back and forth. My mom's side was fighting for custody. My dad was fighting for custody, but really it was my dad's mom and dad, who I would go visit with every couple of weekends. And they were, battling it out. And the judge just said, "Who do you want to live with?" And I said, "My grandma, grandpa, my dad's mom and dad." Because I had good times with them. I had stability there. I had wonderful memories of going to my aunt and uncle's farm, playing with my cousins. And also they kind of spoiled me. So I have to admit that too. As a kid, I was like, well, I get pretty much whatever I want. So that was part of the reason I chose them. They took good care of me. So I went and lived with them. And my grandma, my mom's mom, had grandparent rights, and I got to see her every 2 weekends, which I now look back as a blessing, because that's when I would see my sister too. So she and I, even though we were separated, she and I would be together every couple of weekends at my grandma's house. So
That's nice.
Yeah, she and I are best friends now. She's
cool.
Amazing. Yeah. And life was good for a little while. I had stability. We moved out to the country, Bunker Hill. They wanted me to be away from any type of city chaos, drugs, alcohol, and I had a really good childhood there in the country, playing in the woods, creeks, four-wheelers. Had a moped. I love my moped. My grandpa got me a moped, and I would ride for hours just up and down the country roads and in the woods. Had some really good friends. Played all the sports. Had good friends there. I had a boyfriend at a young age. I can't leave that part out. We were together from junior high all the way through high school. Got engaged. Got a house. We were like 19 or 20. And then all of a sudden I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I didn't tell you about this part in the email or the video. So by the way, his family also were amazing to me, very supportive. Gave me a place to stay even. But it was a month before the wedding, and I was just feeling like I couldn't just stay in Bunker Hill my whole life. And it was still to this day like the hardest thing that I've ever had to do, but I called off the wedding. And I left Bunker Hill. And then I never went back. So life happens. I go to college. I experience all these great things in life, traveling. I did a lot of drama. I love writing. I also loved doing runway throughout college. I just had a really good life. And it was like to see what I had come from. I almost buried all of that because to me it almost didn't matter anymore because I was like, I've moved on and here's this life that I'm making for myself. And then, fast forward, I meet my husband. We have 3 beautiful kids. I love them to death. They're like these little special people that I've made, and it's half of myself whom I've learned to love now and half of my husband, and they're just these beautiful little blessings, and I love them so much, and we have so much fun together. So yeah, I have an incredible life now, but there's a plot twist coming. So I forgot to tell you, my grandma and grandpa that raised me, oh my gosh, I forgot a huge part, Mark. It's coming up. I'll weave it in here. So this actually segues nicely. So 2 years ago, out of nowhere, by the way, I still don't really see my dad. He's not really in the picture every now and then. He kind of calls, but my kids don't see him, which is sad to me. So 2 years ago, I get this random message from someone who I don't know. And she's like, hey, is this person or this person your dad? I said, well, yeah, that one's my dad, yes. And she's like, well, I don't know if you'd be willing to do this, but will you take a DNA test to confirm if he's my dad? I was like, this is wild. So I'm thinking, and my whole life, I'm like, there's no way that my dad didn't have any other kids. There's no way. And so I entertained it. I'm like, it's possible that this could be his daughter. So sure enough, I did a DNA test, and she is my half-sister, which was because I had this neat, stable, incredible life, and then all of a sudden this bomb was dropped. But then I learned that my grandpa that raised me is not my biological grandpa, which shattered me because that's my whole, that's what I know. And still to this day, my dad doesn't know that because he doesn't, he refuses to meet his new daughter, which is, he's not mentally stable, so I get it. But in confirming for my newly discovered half-sister that my dad is in fact her dad, then I learned something that I didn't know, which it was a little stressful, I'm not gonna lie. I tried to be okay with it, but...
So who was your grandfather?
I don't know. So I tried to do research on Ancestry.com, all the things. But here's where it gets really interesting. So, 2 things. I had a letter that was my grandma's, my dad's mom. She had kept it in her jewelry box. And I remember when I was a kid reading it, and basically it was like, hey, I'm pregnant, but I don't want, I'm not gonna say my dad's name, but him to know. I don't need anything, but I'm pregnant and, I'm moving here. And I asked my grandma, I was like, what is this? She's like, oh no, it's nothing. Well, she kept that letter. Well, fast forward, after she died, I took it with me. And that letter was from my half-sister's mom. And so when I finally figured out where the letter was from and that it was real, it blew my mind. But we also learned, again, in finding out my grandpa wasn't really my dad's dad, we started questioning, well, what the heck? How did that just go unnoticed? Well, talking to my aunts, they're like, oh, that's probably why your grandpa shot your grandma. Yeah, this is a true story. So when they were all living, I can't remember where they were, but my aunts remember it very vividly as well. I guess my grandpa came home, found my grandma, she was pregnant with my dad. And he shot her. And rather than like telling on him or, telling the cops, she was like, it was an accident. She was in the hospital. I have pictures of it. It's wild. But he got away with it because back then he was taking care of her and their family. And I guess it was like, well, she can't take care of all these kids by herself. But now we know why. He found out about the affair. It's wild. He found out about the affair, and so it all makes sense now. So in that way, there's a little closure there. But yeah, I still don't know who his dad is. We tried, but no one's willing to respond to our messages. Yeah. Very crazy.
Families get complicated.
They do, yeah. So here we are. I think that, as you were saying earlier, people can let all of that get to them. It's very heavy stuff. But I was always hesitant to talk about it because I always see other people that have it worse. You always have that in your head, like, oh, well, it could be worse, it could be worse. But when I finally let myself process it and think through it, I'm like, that doesn't matter, that's really fucked up. Like, no kid should have to go through that. So in that way, I do feel like it's okay for me to be open about how it was awful. Like, that's not, a kid shouldn't have to go through that. But I've come out ahead. Somehow, even with all of that, something in my brain, I don't know if I'm wired differently or I'm just blessed with the ability to just push forward. But I just feel like you don't need to be a product of your environment. You don't need to feel like what you've been through or your surroundings or your family even, they don't need to hold you back. You can cut ties with your family. That's very healthy, actually. Mm-hmm. You can just be like, you are not serving me well.
You didn't pick them.
That's right. You are not doing anything positive for me in my life. And maybe in the future we'll meet again.
Have a picnic.
Yeah, but for now you're not doing anything positive for myself. That's sort of what we've done with my dad, unfortunately.
But the only trouble is a lot of people are too young to make those kind of decisions.
Yes. So I will say I was fortunate as we opened up. I was fortunate enough to have people that was around me that loved me and guided me and gave me a home and clothes and food. And I know not every child is fortunate enough to have that.
And that's what saved your life, probably.
It is. It's those little, very simple things.
Just having people, whether it's step-parents or foster parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles or whoever, that, or even just whoever, that is a parent figure that can be a solid role model and a good person.
That's right.
To guide and raise a kid. That's all you need.
That's right. Yeah, it's the basics. My uncle always says that too. He's my godfather.
No, your dad could be Charles Manson. Your mom could be.
Oh my gosh! Speaking of, I wasn't going to tell you this, but since you said it, I went to high school with. Did you remember hearing about Star? His wife, she's about my age. She was going to this is before he died, but she was visiting him and they were going to get married and stuff.
I don't remember this.
Anyway, I went to high school with her.
Yeah. She was going to marry Charles Manson? Yeah.
Well, so she would, I'm not kidding you, and she's still alive, so she was, side note, being in a small town, you were friends with everyone, and it kept you out of trouble. It was really neat in that way, but that doesn't mean we didn't booze cruise, drink in countries, cornfields, barns. But she would be walking around the halls saying that one day she was going to move out to where he is in prison and marry him. She's always said that.
When he was in prison?
Yes. Read her books. This was back in high school, so I went to high school I graduated in 2006. So.
And she was much, much younger.
Oh, yeah. She was dead set on it. And so when she actually did move, where was he in prison? Out here in L.A.?
I don't know where he was.
It was in, I think, in California.
In California,
she
probably.
Moved here,
yeah.
And she lived by him, would visit him all the time. You can Google it. It's weird. It's a fun fact for you about me.
No, but you've built a life that is.
I have, yes. I've built a great life, and one day I'm excited to be able to tell my kids about it. To be like, now I'm gonna get teary-eyed. I haven't cried the whole time about myself, but thinking about my kids makes me so happy to know that they'll have a stable home and they won't ever have to worry about that.
What do you think the difference is between you, who you don't have the self-destructive tendencies that your mom and dad did?
Right.
You clearly love your kids and want what's best for them, and know how to make good decisions about what is best for them. What do you think? Why do you think you have these qualities and they don't? Was it just the saving that came from your grandparents?
I've thought about that a lot, and I've had this conversation with. He's my old boss, and he's still a mentor and good friend today. We've had this conversation a lot because over the years I've opened up to him, and he asked the same question. He's like, "But just like how are you today?" And I'm like, I think it's twofold. One is just experiencing that and knowing that's messed up. Like you don't, that's not normal. So just experiencing that and knowing what isn't right, just the basics like we were talking about. You just need to love people and know that it doesn't take a lot. It's like, hey, I love you, you're safe. And so seeing what is not good and what you don't want, that's, I think, half of it. The other half, I can't explain. I think I was just the way my mentor always says, like, I think that you were just a special ball of dust when you were created, and that just makes you unique. And so I think that's the other half, whether everyone has different religious views, but...
To oversimplify, it's just being able to love yourself and love those around you.
Yeah, and then just focusing on the good that's been put in my life and my path. And I do feel like I do have positive impact on people too, just being myself. And my whole life, you hear stuff about how some people just have something about them that makes people feel comfortable and happy, and they can sense energy. And I get that a lot. Strangers will just open up and tell me their whole lives. And I love that. I love people. Humans are just so interesting to me, and our minds and our behaviors are just fascinating.
Those are words that exactly the way I would have said it.
Yeah.
And you're working now?
Yes. So I've been with my organization for 11 years. It's a healthcare technology company, and we are modernizing healthcare for people, like patients, because healthcare is tricky and complicated and hard for people. So I am a leader in our product development department organization, and that's one of the things I love, is getting to mentor people and watch them grow in their roles. And they've been incredible to me. I started there like entry level, taking care of customers, and then over the years I realized I wanted to be a part of the solution. I had these ideas, and I'm like, well, I should probably say something. And they're amazing about having open doors and always taking in feedback. And so I just started giving ideas to our technology and development teams. And then from there, I grew into an analyst and program management, and now I manage a few folks in our product development team.
Amazing.
Yeah, I've been there, like I said, 11 years, and my husband and I do well. We have a beautiful home. The kids never need anything. I mean,
you clearly have, but if it's a competency gene,
yeah,
you have it.
But where did that come from?
I don't know, but you see people that have it, like Kobe Bryant. He spoke well. He was good looking. He was talented. He was smart. He did everything well.
Yeah.
And there are many, many other people like that just do a lot of things. Once you learn how to do one thing really well, you can apply that to so many other things. Yes.
And in fact, at one point my husband did say something, because, as you get older, you're like, well, obviously I'd prefer not to work. Like, I'd rather be a yoga instructor or own a dance studio or write music full-time, perform full-time. But this is the career and the path that I was given, and I have to think that there's something about that. Like, there's a reason for it. But what he said was, I think that you, no matter what you would have chosen, you would have done amazing in it. And I was like, I think you're right. And so he said that one day, and I thought I could have, and I still could. I'm still young. That's another thing. Like, you can wake up tomorrow and just be someone that you want to be better for, if that makes sense. Like, you can't lose your core bit about you. But if you decide tomorrow you want to be funnier, or you want to laugh more, or you want to go learn a new instrument, like, no one's stopping you but yourself. So yeah, I think that I could have chosen anything and would be good at it, because I like to win. I'm a winner, and I don't like to fail.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Traci, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, Mark.
When I was designing the first Soft-White Underbelly book, I realized that there were so many great portraits that weren't going to make it into that book. They just wouldn't fit. And once I saw how well that first book sold, I knew I'd have to design a second book. This second book is finally ready to ship. Like the first one, this book has a collection of some of the best portraits from Soft-White Underbelly, accompanied by a quote from that person's interview. This book features another group of Rebecca portraits, as well as a collection of color images of the Whitaker family, and plenty of others. You can order yours for $125 or $150 for a signed copy at softwhiteunderbelly.org. Again, like the first book, once this book is sold out, I will not be printing more of them. The portraits are what Soft-White Underbelly is all about, and these two books contain the best of all that work. Thank you for watching.